Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Welcome back, everybody. I don't have to remind you of this, but it's just a challenging world we live in. There's so much going on. There's a lot of negativity. There's a lot of uncertainty with the elections coming up, our financial future. All of this stuff affects us. And a lot of times we're running, we're hiding. We don't feel safe in this world. And if you're not conscious of it, it's probably inside you, just with anxiety or just uneasiness. We're going to talk about that today. Maybe some of those things that you can do to feel a little more comfortable in the current times. And this is all of what she helps people with. She's hearing this kind of stuff too from the people that she works with. She is an amazing psychotherapist, and Dr. Elena Gherman joins us once again here today. How are you?
I'm doing great, Steve. Thank you for having me.
I'm glad we're talking about this. And yes, it's not the most fun topic ever, but it's real. And before we got on here, you said it. I was about to say it. We both hear it from everyone, probably ourselves included. But people say, I don't watch the news. I just shut that off. I'm not watching any of that. It's almost as if we're kind of running from what's going on. And that's, I guess, fine, if you want to find some shelter in it. But are you feeling from the people you help an escalation of those feelings, that anxiety based on what's going on in our world?
Exactly. It is. And it's sad. And in the same time, I think it's scary to hear more and more people coming into the office and even friends and relatives and people that we know of, then we interact with, saying, I just don't want to hear what's going on. I just want to, isolate myself from this reality, sad reality that we live in. I don't want to watch the news. I don't want to watch the Weather Channel. I don't want to be on social media, because everywhere it's so much sadness, so much negativity, so much unknown, that is so scary to be alive in these times. Yeah. And so much uncertainty, I think, makes people be very frightened, very anxious, and very depressed. And even if you don't have preponderance towards being depressed and sad and unstable, you can't help it but wondering, what's the world gonna be like in the next 2-3 months, in the next 6 months, by spring break, by, next summer? Am I gonna be able to take my kids on a summer vacation? What's gonna happen with my kids' graduation next year? What's the future like? And it's not like we're thinking 5 years, like we usually tend to ask our patients, what's your plan for 5 years? When now it's like we cannot look 5 months down the road. And that's scary. And I was having a conversation the other day with somebody trying to plan for retirement. That seems so uncertain on so many levels, so many levels these days. It's like we don't even know for sure if we have enough financial stability to pay our mortgage next month. And it's no matter of where you work, what your income is, what you do, because of the nature of where the economy is going and everything related to it. So yes, it does affect the mental state of every single person around us. And I think it's very scary. And that increases the level of anxiety from the little ones to all ages, to everyone. And you feel it just go to a grocery store. Everybody's going crazy like these days. We were joking about it to say that before COVID or during COVID, one of the items most purchased was toilet paper. These days, it seems like water is the item that is most purchased, and makes you wonder. People are afraid they're going to be left without water.
It surprised me, the toilet paper thing. Yes, during COVID, but it was just a few weeks ago.
It stayed in the history.
a couple of weeks ago, there was a concern that there was a shipping strike. So,
Yeah.
ships wouldn't arrive with the products. Side note, toilet paper doesn't come on those ships, but just probably from a post that went viral, people freaked out. And I have friends that work in stores. I have a friend who's a manager at BJ's. He's like, it was insane. People were coming in just getting paper towels and toilet paper. They don't realize that they don't have to worry about that. Shelves were empty. And I'm thinking to myself, this is what we're worrying about, toilet paper? I mean, I don't have to go into detail here, but yeah, it'll be okay.
Right.
But that raised
What if
anxiety.
it's not? It's not the anxiety, right? So toilet paper, water, and all about. What about food? What about electricity? What about all these other things that, all these millions and millions of people that were affected by the hurricanes? We had several hurricanes in a row.
Yeah.
Okay. And we're not even, knock on wood, right? We're not even affected by all these terrible wars and all these terrible disasters. And we just have storms. We just have natural disasters that are horrific for those people that are being affected. And it's just the sadness and the despair for those people that are being affected. It's unimaginable.
Do you feel that when those things happen, and they're tragic, hurricane, people displaced, mudslides, flooding, all of that, certainly the elections are coming up and a lot of this other stuff going on. If you're not directly affected by it, so let's say you weren't in the hurricane area, you're on the other side of the country, do you feel that deep down inside, hearing the news is affecting you, but you might not even realize that it is or how it is? Do you feel that that's what's going on with many of us?
You are affected. I think you really have to be totally out of reality not to be affected. I mean, just from the, if you watch TV, let's assume you do watch TV, right? Regardless of the channel that you watch, unless you watch reality TV, right? Just the perseverance that they come up on TV, right? You see the same clips over and over again, and you do get at the inner perspective, you do get affected. You realize like, hey, this is going on, close enough to where I'm at. Those are people affected. And then if you work in an area like I do, I have patients that come to me specifically. They increase their frequency of their appointments because her mother lives in Florida. Oof. Or they know somebody who's affected, or their son isn't going to school in North Carolina, or things are happening like that to where they are immediately affected, and now somehow becomes my responsibility to try to keep them alive and keep them safe and stable, even though they're not immediately affected. But in turn, as a third party, I become affected. So it happens. You just have to be totally blinded or totally, I don't necessarily
isolated from.
Exactly. I don't want to say I'm isolating myself from this, but you just have to be ignorant not to be affected.
So you brought back a recent memory for me. In this area, it was a big storm back in August. And there's a huge pond. It's really, really big. It's been there for decades and decades. I would take my children there. So many other people did. And the road buckled and the pond emptied into a harbor. And it was just a mud bed. Nothing. And there was, huge fish that had been there 50 years, just floundering in the mud, trying to survive. There was wildlife displaced and all of that. And I have to honestly say, and I'm going to say it as a grown man right here, it made me sad. It made me genuinely sad. Just, what was lost, but all those memories as well. We'll always still have them. And I spoke to a friend who's a woman, and she actually said to me, "That's what you're worried about, you tree hugger?" And I'm like, thanks for the empathy. There's even just something like that. And that was just a lot of it, but people talked about it. It was on social media as well. but just those little things that, it reminded me how it can impact you, just bring you down, just
Right.
just a feeling of sadness, and hopelessness. I would go there in a second if I could fix it or do something. And it's going to be probably a year. I mean, I passed by there last week to go kayaking. The road is still buckled. It's a mud bed still.
Right.
But I can see how, some of those things can really, really affect us. And lack of a better description, just bring you down, kind of bring you down.
And let's say not everybody is emotionally available, right, to feel those things, right? Let's say you see the things on TV and they may not affect you, right? You may say, well, I've never been to Florida. I don't know what it feels. And it's their choice to live there or not. Let's assume there are people like that, right?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
However, to some extent or another, from a financial perspective, let's say, increasing their insurance will probably affect all of us, right?
Yeah.
If you think of something that's strictly financial, so how is that going to affect not just you and I, but all of us? Okay. So any way you look at it, we were all going to be affected. We're all going to be affected by the wars. We're all going to be affected by the political decisions that are being made around us. We're all going to be affected by anything that's going on, any hardship that's happening around us at any given point. So there is no surprise when everybody around us says, there is so much negativity, there's so much going on. And looking up at the sky, they're like, when is all this going to stop? Is there a stopping point? Is there a light really at the end of all this? Why is so much chaos? And for all those people who wonder, I would say, yes, because I'm a believer. I'm no magician, but I would want to say yes, because I think we all need to find our own peace. We all need to find our own coping skills and coping mechanisms, like how to deal with it. Finding it within yourself, within your own community, within your own family, ways of dealing with these stressors. I think it's very important. I mean, there are little things we can do as part of a community that we live in, like go vote, right? Go be responsible. Go, if you can, make a little donation for the people that are in need. Go help out. Go get rake and go help out wherever you can in a public park or do your part.
Sure.
But other than that, take care of your own mental health. Take care of your children. Take care of your elderly. Take care of yourself. Meditate. Go for a walk. Go whatever makes you feel better. And if you do need to turn off that news channel, do so. Okay? Pick up a good book. Do something that helps you stay afloat and stay sane. We all need to get through this.
Somebody told me 3 sentences that can help when you're in the thick of it, whatever the situation is, where you're feeling stressed out, anxiety, just like, and it's things you repeat to yourself, either verbally or in your mind. I am not my thoughts. I am not my emotions. I am safe in this moment. And I've been told that it works really well when you just focus on those words. You focus on those words. What are your thoughts?
No, I agree with that. I agree with those words, because, we should not be driven and represented by our thoughts. And whether you are safe in that particular moment, I think it's fair game. Some of us might not be safe in that moment, but I think that you have to have, you have to portray that gratitude, like whatever you have, try to be content with whatever you have, and never stop reflecting to what's worth living for, what is worth fighting for, why are you doing what you're doing, okay? And who are the people around you that are worth fighting for? And I think that a lot of people, most of it that I find very significant these days, a lot of people are getting triggered by what they see, and specifically by the wars, given whether it's their past, whether it's their past experiences, whether is related to their job or their service or whatever it is. And I would want to say to those people, don't let your past influence your present actions. Don't let your emotions drive you. Okay? Just think of you right now and this very moment, because you cannot change the past. Past is past. It's written.
And you don't know what the future is. So
exactly.
You know,
your present is past. As soon as you say this is the present, is gone. It's done. But your future, what you can do for your future, it's always think like, what would be the best outcome for the future? And that's all you can do. You cannot anticipate it. You cannot change it. You cannot predict it. All you can do is hope for the best, right?
I have to share with you that was my game changer in my journey. And this was 4 years ago. I met somebody who said, and this is to your point, why don't you ever live in the moment? And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. You don't live in the moment. You're always thinking about the past. You're always thinking about the future. Live in the moment. It took me a while to figure that out, but then I did. And then you see that if you live in the past, sometimes it can be kind of depressing, depending on the situation. The future, what's that? Anticipating what's could be coming up, which probably doesn't take place anyway. That could be anxiety. When you live in the moment, like you just slice this second right here. There you go. What's wrong? Nothing.
By the time we realize what your present is gone.
Right. But if you slice that moment, there's nothing wrong. Everything is usually okay. So once you figure that out and not worry about, a lot of this kind of stuff, I believe it can really be a game changer. Is it easy? No. It took me a long time. Excuse me. It took me a long time to figure it out. It wasn't an overnight thing. And that was even somebody bringing it to my attention. I want to go back to talking about emotion. Elena, do you feel that many of us amp it up in our minds? So we might see a hurricane situation, and I'm not talking about being involved in it, just hearing about it on the other side of the country, anticipating what's going to happen potentially with whoever's elected. Do you think that in our minds we amp this stuff up where it just takes control of us? And that's where I mentioned, those 3 sentences, I am not my emotions, because maybe we're not. We're a piece of it, but not to this degree where it's affecting us. Same thing with the thoughts, we're worried about, I am not those thoughts. That's not really, it's not reality, but in our minds, we're amping it up. We're amplifying all of it. Do you think that's actually what's going on?
It's a normal process. It's a normal physiological process for our mind and our body to tend to exaggerate a little bit.
Yes.
And then because it's that feeling of having the space, almost the way I look at it, it's almost having the space to bounce back and to have a sense of safety net, So, and it's not just our mind, it's just pretty much the way I look at it, the way we see it in the media too, right? They kind of go out of range, and then they have space to say, okay, well, it's not quite like that, but we are within the normal limits. The same thing with our brain, the same thing with the way we perceive things at times. So try to look at it within the gray area, right? Not through the totally pessimistic, but not through the totally optimistic lens either. Remain somewhere in the middle ground all the time. And then that is really a safe way to move forward in anything. And the hope and the belief and the going into the future, going into this, we're going to be okay type of mentality. Because we as a society, we as a whole have to continue. And if it's not, if you ever feel, and anybody, I'm not just referring to you or I in this, but anyone, if you ever feel like, this is so hard to move on. I don't see a way forward. I don't think I'm worth living in this. I don't like this world that I live in. Just think about it. It's not just you. This is not just about you. This is about your children. This is about your neighbor. This is about your coworker. This is about a stranger in the street that you probably never meet. Okay? This is about us as a society. We need to keep going forward. So what is your part of on this? What are you going to do? Your little tiny bitty job that is going to add to this holistic approach to moving forward, because we cannot just wait and hide in a house in our own living room with a TV shut and just wait for the world to pass, wait for the 2025 to come, and hopefully it will be a better one.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the perception is the reality. So your perception of what's going on becomes that reality. And even, I had a conversation with somebody just yesterday about Social Security. It might not be there by the time we need it. What's it going to do to worry about it now? Right. Yes, it's frustrating. Maybe you've worked most of your life. You've paid into it. You should be seeing the rewards of that because those before you have. But we don't know what's going to happen. And you can't do anything about it, other than, elect a certain official. But are they going to do anything about it? If the money's not there, the money's not there. But worrying about it, it's not going to help us. Not going to help us.
Yeah, similar conversation I had with somebody else too, like planning for retirement. What's the point? Plan to be healthy next week, right? Go get your flu shot. That's probably a better thing to do than plan for retirement. At least it's it's a near future that you can actually foresee and do something about it.
Exactly. Yeah, it's funny. 2 weeks ago, I caught a virus. I never get sick. I had acute laryngitis. It was 10 days ago. The ENT told me that I would probably need a therapist to learn how to talk again.
There you go.
Scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most severe. He put me at a 6. So right away, I'm looking at him. I didn't even say a word. I'm like that's my livelihood.
This is my job.
That's my job. I've been doing that since I was a kid, 17. And now you're telling me, all of this stuff. And I got to tell you, for a moment there, I was just like, and then I just tap the brakes, take it easy. Let's ride this out. Let's see how it goes. It started progressively getting better. 10 days later, here I am, and it's working. It's not feel fine. But I could have went
You're
off.
You're the perfect example, never give up. You don't need to end your life because you caught a virus that affected your larynx. You're good.
But there was a split, a moment, and we locked eyes in that, exam room where I'm like, he was like, just don't talk anymore because if you continue to, your vocal cords get hemorrhage. And I'm like, but I had faith, and maybe that's what we need. In all of these situations.
That's exactly what we need, yes.
Faith, like it's going to be okay. Tap the brakes a little bit there.
Faith and hope, yes.
Yeah, faith and hope, exactly.
And it's the beginning of the month today. It's November 1st. And also, it's a new moon today.
Yeah.
So you know what happens in a new moon? It's a new cycle, new beginning. Hopefully, it's going to be something new, beautiful will happen.
Oh, I love that.
We hope, right?
And gratitude. We didn't mention that. We're out of time, but be grateful. And you can find the good if you look. And I'm not talking about putting the rose-colored glasses on and pretending, but there is good when you practice gratitude and it changes your life. There are people out there that call themselves gratitude warriors because it's changed their life. Elena, how do we connect with you? If this is somebody's troubled, obviously, if you're at a extreme point, 911, please seek help. But if somebody wants to talk, kind of figure these things out, maybe get some therapy virtually, how do they find you?
So the easiest way to find us is our website, which is fullmoonbehavioral.com. And all type of communications, how to get a hold of us are there on the website. And we love to talk to anyone about any type of subjects, really going from the media, the news, anything, your children, your family, or any personal hardship, because we want you to know that you're not alone. Really, that is our main goal. You're not alone, and you're going to get through whatever it is. And we're there to help you. And not just us, but find somebody in your community. Find somebody that's close to you. And many times it's much easier to talk and communicate with someone that is not a friend of yours, or it's not your person. Talking to a stranger, it's much easier and much more beneficial to your well-being than somebody that's close to you.
Yeah, because a lot of times your friend's going to tell you what you want to hear. And that's not really the best role. Thank you so much for today.
Thank you. And let's hope for a better world.
Well, I want to thank you also for mentioning the new moon. I'm excited. I really am. I genuinely mean that. And yeah, it's a new month, so it's almost like a clean slate. Awesome. We'll catch up next time, okay?
Thank you. And I wish you get better, okay?
I'm good. I'm blessed. It's all good.
Take care.
We're coming right back. You too. Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
When it comes to making plans, you are the best. What about those round trips that you plan in advance, which are perfect on your way there and perfect on your way back? Or those meetings with friends for which you make a group chat 3 months before so that nobody or anything is missing? Or your daughter's first birthday party. You planned it with such dedication that instead of the first, it felt like our 15s. The same way you plan each detail for those moments. Start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Sign up for local weather and emergency alerts. Prepare an emergency kit. And make a family communications plan. Protecting your family is the best plan you can make. Get started at ready.gov/plan.
Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.